here we are, just a couple of days before Georgia goes out on the road to face Texas. The mighty Texas Longhorns. Every fan that's ever bought a ticket pays some price to get in, and some sneak in, and they used to watch them from the towers in the railroad track. People wanted to watch that Georgia Bulldog game. You could see guys on the street selling them openly. I remember it as a kid. I remember the hawker going, "Come watch Archie Manning's last game." It wasn't his last game. He did right well that day and in his entire career. And as a child playing well today, and possibly, we will face Mr. Manning again. So, the O's Tree Hawker has no credibility years later. My good sir, that was not Archie Manning's last game. But nobody knows what's going to happen in a football game. Fans like the trash talk. You buy a ticket, season tickets. What does that take? Think about that. A guy that's buying season tickets. What kind of games is he getting for his money? Well, we'll get to that later. But he still buys them. Then he opens the mailbox and sees he has a sizable donation due. Or he won't be able to buy his tickets. So he writes the big check and goes to the games. So what's he getting for his money? When it gets right down to it, what's Georgia fan got for his money the last 50 years? Well, Larry Munson will make you think they got quite a lot. They're always winning games by the skin of their teeth and barely gritting out wins and heartbreaking losses, but never did they ever have national titles. Just wasn't in the territory. We had good teams that could get to a bowl game, maybe win the SEC, back when you could just win the SEC. Now there's a little bit of a post-game, pre-game, other things are factored in than just the best team. But back in those days, all you had to do was be the best team and you won the SEC most of the time. Best record is the winner. End of the discussion. But now you can go undefeated in regular season and you don't know if you're going to get anything. Oh, playoffs aren't going to affect the regular season. Really? Georgia went 12-0 last year and they could have just as easily went 6-5. It wouldn't have mattered. Same amount of national attention would have been garnered. They didn't do anything last year. They fell off the scene. Very important to get back as quickly as possible, wouldn't you say? Georgia fans can't go out and acting like they have the 21-22 team. They don't. It's not here anymore. It may never come back. That's where we're at. It's the new 1980. Take it or leave it. Until we start doing what we did then. We'll get to that just a little later. That's more involved. This team is a shell of the 21-22 team. But, my good friends, it is not too far away from that team when you really get down to it. Why would it be that much different? They've recruited at the very top. They have the best facilities. They have good NIL. They get the good players. They haven't slowed down much yet. Why wouldn't they still have the kind of team they had in 21 and 22? Good question. But they don't. So what's wrong? Been asking for a year. I asked all last year, what's wrong? That 21-22 team, which is, to save time, that's Georgia's expectation. That's what we should be every game. Because we can. That's enough. Because we can. We should try to be like that team. Because we're closer than anybody else to being that. But Texas can take the crown for good. You didn't have a title last year for them to steal, but they can keep you from getting there again. You keep stumbling when it really matters, something that team never did. Hardly anything really mattered because they beat everybody so thoroughly, week to week, they just had to go through the formality of receiving the title. Play in the games, get the title, go home. It was that simple, and it should have stayed that way. Do you think it has? Think hard. No, it hasn't. Do you want to get back to that? Or do you want to keep falling like you're falling now without that as your goal? That 21-22 national champion domination is what your goal should be, because you had it. You have every ingredient right in front of you. Nothing changed. Well, something did. What happened? What's different? Different quarterback. Okay. So the 21-22 team was a product of Stetson Bennett only? No. They needed somebody like him. And there's always somebody out there that can do what he does. You probably got him on the bench. Or he's dressing out every day. But you've got to, in college football, there's certain intervals you've got to reload. And now that reload process is so quick, it may not be possible to have team chemistry again. I think a good coach will get us there. But Georgia's got to come up with this chemistry overnight. They lost it somewhere when they hoisted the last trophy. Somewhere they stumbled because they're not in the same place. Yeah, beating Texas would put you there. And you still got a little time to get ready. And I believe this team could do exactly what that team did if it decided to. There's nothing you, I, or anyone else can do to make that football team want to be like that team. There's nothing we can do to make Kirby Smart want to recreate that kind of team. If he doesn't want to, it's not going to happen. He's paid to want to make it happen. Maybe not be in the contract, but it's part of my idea of the contract. So, let's just say this trip to Texas might be a test for Kirby Smart. His kingdom is in peril and he needs to play well. But if he doesn't, he needs to end the carnage right there and make the changes that he already knows need to be made. We'll talk about those in a minute. I don't like to alienate people too early in the video. When I start talking about the problems I see, people will leave. So we're going to talk about them. You can leave now if you don't want to talk about Georgia's problems and face them like adults. Well, let's face it, this video has gone 8 minutes and 36 seconds. Anybody that's actually still watching, well, maybe they understand what I'm getting at by making this video. Georgia football is at the cusp of perfection. They have everything they need, but they're not achieving it. What's the problem? We got to find out what the problem is. Good fortune that comes once in a lifetime, a chance to be a champion, doesn't happen to every school, and we're letting it fritter away because there's nothing wrong with what everybody said all off season. I pointed out things last year. Oh, you're just a hater. Yeah, well, I hate losing. I acknowledge that. I don't want to see Georgia go up there and be embarrassed at Texas. But the way this team has been coaching, we don't know that that's not going to happen. And we do know that that Texas coaching staff is going to get the best out of those players. And we don't know that about our coach. So is that a problem? It is for me. An offensive coordinator that's 60th in points per drive should have been fired the moment that number showed up. In tandem with another number that it's the most efficient offense, number 4 in offensive efficiency. Number 4 in offensive efficiency, 60th in points per drive. How can that happen? Explain that and you can figure out the Texas score, and good luck with it.